Hello, welcome to the last episode of the year, the last wannabe entrepreneur. It's a very special episode because I'm here with my co-founder João. What's up, João?
What's up, Tiago?
I'm good.
Awesome. It's always an honor to be in the podcast of the greatest entrepreneur and Twitter influencer of the universe and beyond.
João is my biggest listener because I often, especially in 2023, I spoke a lot about him. So he uses the podcast as a way to see what I'm saying about you, right? Is that true?
It is true. When I go to the gym, I always listen to your podcast. And it helps me to get a little bit into your mind and see what you are thinking and feeling.
It's a bit weird because we have a very short table and we are in front of each other and
looking into each other's eyes.
Looking right into each other's eyes and holding hands. Maybe holding hands was not necessary, but let's continue.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a very special year for me because it was the first time that I got a company or a project that made any money, enough money to pay its salary. And then it's actually my first company ever. So that's cool. That's new. And so, I think today's episode will be just about kind of going through the whole year and how it changed our lives, what we have learned, and our relationship as co-founders. So let's go back. Let's go back to December 2022 when João and I kind of decided to work together. It was more or less maybe November or something, November, December, right?
Yeah, it was definitely before the beginning of the year. I was doing some freelancing. I was very tired of doing freelancing, actually. I wasn't making too much money. I was overworking way too much. And you always had this wish of working together. Yeah. We kind of work together, but not in a partnership kind of way. I've always been involved in your businesses. You have always also been involved in my business, at least in terms of, I've helped you with the design. You helped me with some tips or whatever, some moral support or whatever.
I've done some websites.
Yeah, you also have done a website for me. Absolutely, yeah.
In Donny, though, I didn't do much. But the other businesses... So The Man, you had like an agency called The Man.
Yeah.
And no, but that one I didn't help. It was like Airpack, the website.
Yeah, you made the website for the Airpack, yeah. The best website I've ever had.
Yeah.
But I've also done the best logo you've ever had. So
that's true. But you were I remember you being very frustrated. Like you were very skeptic about the whole thing, the whole entrepreneurship thing. You said Tiago, I know it's impossible, and you were actually applying for jobs for the first time in his life. João was applying for a job. You never worked for anyone else. You were always a freelancer, and you applied for a gig in UK or something.
Yeah, UK. Because I had a friend who started working with a company in London, doing some video work. And he told me that they opened a job for a UX UI designer. And back then I was just a visual designer, but I was very keen to learning about UX UI. So I spent some time learning a few things. And I decided to just risk it and just apply for the job. Of course, I didn't get the job, fortunately, because this led to us building Pod Squeeze. So... but I was a little bit frustrated because I've been, as you know, trying to build businesses for like 10 years, just like you. I think we have started around the same time. Yeah. And I have never had a business that actually made money that would pay a comfortable salary and would not require a ton of work. So I was a little bit frustrated, and I was also a little bit skeptical about entrepreneurship. Because I've always, when you listen to someone who makes money in entrepreneurship, they kind of sound like a guru selling you snake oil. They make it look very easy, and at that point I've already tried so much stuff, and none of them worked very well. So I was a little bit skeptical. But again, I just like you, I have that entrepreneurship spark, so I
Yeah.
had to try something else.
There's no plan B, right? Plan B is start over. And so we started with a project, what was Indie Lottery. And I don't want to spend too much time there. Basically, it didn't work. I mean, I spoke about it in some episodes, so you can just go back and see. We had some kind of minor success. Some people were using it, so there was some traction. But yeah, it was not life changing. We looked at that and say, okay, maybe in a few months we can do something, maybe it will grow, but it was not life changing from the start. And I remember, João, back then you were like, yeah, I still want to do it. I want to continue for a little bit. And and we had an episode actually where we made the decision to stop in the lottery. And if the listeners want to go and check it out, I don't know the number, but I'll just link it in the show notes. But yeah, we decided that we were going to try to do something new and look for something that would immediately have much more success than anything that we ever tried. Because in my chats in this podcast, I interviewed a lot of people, and the ones that had success, that's what they had. They had something that the moment they launched it, they reached 1K MRR in like weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it grew super fast. So we thought, okay, let's do something. Let's do something like that. And then there was GPT, and remember like how was the brainstorming? We sat together, we just had some brainstorming about what we're going to build, right?
Yeah, the idea was to use GPT with something. The idea of repurposing content came up,
Yeah.
and
We had a list of things.
yeah, we had a list of things. But since you are a podcaster, I think the idea to build a tool that repurposed podcast content just came naturally. And yeah, we built it in 2 weeks or something. So we built an MVP, and I think this is probably what made me. I really like that approach of trying to build something very fast and try it out quickly to see if it works or not. Otherwise, I would not be. If you would to propose me like a very complex kind of business, I didn't have the energy to build it. So I like that approach of building something very quick in like 1 or 2 weeks or something and test it out.
In the first week we did, I think in the first week we did an MVP, but you couldn't pay or something. With the simple UI with the 4 or I don't remember how many assets we offered. And the second week so what we were doing is like every week we would reach the end of the week and decide if we wanted to continue. Right? With the Indie Lottery we were doing this every month, and we said like we need to reach 1K MRR in the first month, and we didn't with the Indie Lottery, so stopped it. And the same was with Pod Squeeze. So the first week we did the MVP without paying. The second week we implemented paying, right?
Yeah, there's actually, I think you posted a question on your community asking if you should continue with Pod Squeeze.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember in the first week you posted something about Pod Squeeze, like we have built a prototype, but like in the first week it's almost impossible to get clients, even though we had a lot of traction in like the first month or two. The first week you never get like explosive traction. You need to post it on like Reddit and it takes probably maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get the first clients. So I remember when the first 2 weeks passed and you posted on your community asking advice on whether you should kill Pod Squeeze or not.
Yeah.
Fortunately, you didn't.
Yeah. So we released Pod Squeeze, and we shared it on Reddit.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where, like on Twitter, of course, Reddit,
Maybe some Facebook groups.
Some
I remember
Facebook
I posted
groups.
on some Facebook groups.
But from the start, I noticed that it was different kind of traction. Like I remember like immediately having like 20, 30 people per day coming to the website without, even after the launch. Like in the next days, I remember people coming and registering. And actually, our prices were much higher back then. We started with like, I think $30 was our first price or something.
Yeah,
and we did get one client. I remember like after maybe 1.5 weeks or something, we got one client, and we were very excited about it. But again, it was not the life-changing, aspects that we wanted. We like, just for you to understand, I had I was picking up freelancing work because I had no more money, and João always had his freelancing work as well, and so we just needed something fast.
What was different for Podsquiz in the first week or two was what I noticed that was could be different was when we posted it on Reddit, and instead of people just shutting us down and calling us spammers, what I noticed was people started to make some questions and wanted to try Podsquiz a little bit. I remember some people saying that it was shit, but it was shit because the guy tried in German and the German was still not available. But anyway, that showed even if people call it shit, it showed that people still care to try it out, which was something that you don't normally see. Normally, people just tell you to go fuck yourself and don't give a crap about your product.
So we decided to continue. We implemented one very important feature because we were also getting a lot of feedback. I don't remember if we had immediately the crisp, the chat that allowed people to send us messages.
No, I don't think so.
But that is really important because we got a lot of feedback from there. And yeah, initially you could only search your podcast from your RSS feed and you couldn't upload. And everyone was asking, like, we need to upload because all this, like the show notes, the timestamps, we need those before releasing the episode. Yeah. And the RSS feed is only available, or the episode is only available once it's published. So I remember what we did, and it was really funny. So first of all, we introduced that feature, and I think that was a game changer. From then on, we started having more people, more interest, and then we reduced the prices. But we didn't like go there and like reduce the price right away. We put a discount. And we said, I think it was like 50% off at first.
I think we did it in phases, if I remember well. I think we dropped like from 30 to 20 or something like that. And then we had a meeting with that Travis guy. Who had some experience in the podcasting field. And he told us that the ideal price for podcasters would be something like around $12 or something like that. So we decided to try it out. And I remember that we saw a significant increase in conversion when we dropped the prices. Yeah. But yeah, we did that. We offered the early bird discount, and we were trying out the pricing until we settled on $12.
Yeah. The early bird discount was like 60% or 50% for 1 month. The next month we reduced it to 25% discount, and then we just kept that price.
Yeah.
And I think then we start having a few customers coming per. I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe I could just pull in the. I'll just get the our MRR growth because I think that will be funny. Do you remember how much did you get in the first month of?
In the first month after launch, after having a prototype.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 clients, 7. I'm not sure, but I know it was more than 0, which was also kind of surprising for me.
So in March, do you remember March? What was our MRR? So we started in February.
Yeah.
But in February, our MRR was 33 euros. Was that one client that we got? And then in March, what do you remember? Do you like what to?
I remember that before the product launch, the product launch, we had like $800 MRR, and then we launched in March, like late March, I think. So I would assume that we reached around 1,000, 2,000 maybe MRR.
So in March 31st of March, we had already 1,700 MRR.
Yeah.
And then in April, 5,000. Yeah. This is crazy. Yeah. Like I remember, like this was the most ever like excitement I ever had with any product, because in 2 months we had gone from 0 to 5K MRR. Which is already like 2.5K per person, and we are back then we had some expenses. Our providers were a bit more expensive, but it was quite good. So I think.
But what made the difference there was really product hunt. I think that was the first one.
So once the product was ready, and we saw a few people coming, creating accounts, registering, and the feedback was great. People said like this was amazing, that I like it. A lot of people were telling us like, I'm going to fire half of my team, stuff like that. So we decided that it was time to do the product on launch. We got number 2.
Two, yeah.
And then, we just almost tripled our MRR. Because the cool thing in the launch is that it took us, we were getting the repercussions of the launch for the next month.
Yeah.
Right?
And, and still product and still asks us for a short video. So if you get on the first three places, positions, you get some extra promotion from product and that's great for new businesses.
Do you remember how did it feel to see such a growth?
Yeah, I couldn't really believe. I remember I was in gym and I looked into my phone and like the notifications from Stripe started to pour in, like 6 clients a day, 7 clients a day, 8 clients a day. Whereas in previous businesses, if we had like 1 client a week, it would be already a victory. And
because these are subscriptions.
yeah.
So it's not only like they are paying it once. No, they're like subscribing to a service, so they will pay, multiple times a year, right?
Yeah, my faith in entrepreneurship restored a little bit at that moment, I have to say. So yeah, that moment was also a aha moment for me. I figured like, okay, so this is how successful businesses happen, bootstrap businesses. There's this moment of explosive growth that comes from your product market fit, and that's probably what if you are a bootstrapper and you can build prototypes very easily, that's probably what you should aim to, just build fast and see if you have this initial traction.
How did it feel to start telling everyone around you that you're making money?
Yeah, I'm very cautious about that because at the same time, even though my faith was restored a little bit, I kept being a skeptic. So I was, at the same time, I was thinking, okay, maybe this is just temporary and we are going to get distraction, but this will slow down, or these people are going to churn or whatever, or there's going to be a competitor, or ChatGPT just starts to offer our service or whatever. So the idea that the business could instantly die was always in the back of my mind, so I wasn't celebrating too much. I think I'm more grateful now and more... I'm feeling more like celebrating our success now because Pod Squeeze now, it feels more solid to me. It feels more like we have a very steady flow of clients. Of course, we also have a high churn, but it seems to be kind of a more mature, sustainable business, and it feels like it is not going anywhere now.
I remember feeling like walking and I don't know, being with my friends and family and everything and saying like, they don't know that I'm succeeding, but I know, kind of thing. Like they don't know my little secret. I was just waiting until someone asks, like, because I didn't want to say like, yeah, I know I'm making. So I was like, yeah, man, they don't like. I have a fucking business, it's growing. And I was looking for every time someone would, I was waiting every time I would like meet a friend or someone, I was waiting for them to ask like, hey Tiago, because it's been like 2 years previously of like not wanting to speak about my businesses, right? Because I was not making any money, and now suddenly I just wanted to talk about it. I just like, and I have to be honest, it kind of went up to my head, and I was thinking like, when you are, I don't know if you've ever been to a casino or something. But sometimes you're in the casino and you seem that you have to have this luck and you think like, this will never end. Like I'll just become a millionaire because I'm making so much money. And then of course it ends. But I was feeling like that, like this will just keep on growing because the growth is crazy. So like in May, we are now at 7,600 MRR. And then in June, 8,000. And so it was like growing at least 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 MRR per month. And I was like, man, like I know, like it's done. Like our life is done. We've made it,
I remember we had a conversation in your balcony when we were smoking some cigars. I brought you to celebrate our
100K.
yeah our 100K. And I remember we had this conversation about how having a successful business kind of change your mind a little bit on how you view
Oh
yourself.
yeah.
And it had a it changed my confidence in
Yeah.
myself. Absolutely, like the small things. For example, as you know, I don't really like to driving too much. So for some reason, having a successful business made me more confident driving. For example, I just felt like a more capable person overall, not just in the business area, just overall in life. Even like looking people in the eye, like looking at strangers in the eye. For some reason, I felt a lot more comfortable
But
looking
that's
at people.
weird. Like,
Yeah,
why? Why do you think that is? Like, what is driving connected with having a business?
I don't know. I think you kind of, if you, of course, your financial life is a very important dimension of your life, and if you are successful if you are successful financially, I guess you develop this intuition that you are a capable person and you are capable of solving difficult problems, and you suddenly are at the top 1% of society. Of course, you have to keep these things in check because, of course, this can end at any time for many reasons. But and it's always good to be humble. But of course, you at least for me, I kind of developed this intuition that I had to keep in check. That okay, suddenly now I'm a more capable person. There's also one interesting thing that, for example, Pot Squeeze succeeded, but he could not have succeeded for many reasons. But suddenly, when you get a successful business, you kind of feel like a genius. You
Yeah.
kind of feel like you figured.
You are the same person though. Like,
You are the same
the
person.
skills you have are exactly
Yeah.
the same as before. You know.
But now you are a genius because you
Yeah.
figured out like now you know the formula to making money, and that's kind of an illusion, I think. But
No, it's definitely an illusion.
yeah,
No, but for me, it's like always doing my projects and never being consider myself even like the wannabe entrepreneur, the name of this podcast, right? Like, it's hard to consider yourself as an entrepreneur until you make it, right? Until then, you're just doing side projects, and it just gives you validation. Because I remember like being with my family, and I'm like on my computer, and they are going to the beach or doing something, and I just like I don't want to do that. I just want to do this with and coming and always with new ideas and telling to my friends I have these ideas, and they'll be like, yeah, cool, Tiago,
Yeah.
you have some ideas. That's good, you know. Like just go and get a job, and then for the first time showing that these ideas can actually pay the bills, and they are a job. That was crazy. That was the validation for me. They were like, fuck, you know, my dream, something that like normally people in society they don't do it. Just like proving everyone wrong and proving myself right as well. So yeah, that was incredible, and I also agree. I mean, not with the driving thing, but with feeling much more confident in life, in anything. Like my opinion matters, and that I'm capable of doing stuff.
did you also feel like a genius? Like now because I thought it one thing interesting that you did was one post in Twitter it was kind of I don't know for gags, but half serious, half kidding. That post about how 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 much percentage would people offer you from their business to work with you?
Oh yeah,
Remember that? Because and that kind of told me that
this guy is over his head.
yeah, this guy is feeling like a genius, and he thinks that he has figured out how to do business. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What did you what
I remember because you told me many times that.
yeah what made you post that? Did you really believe that people suddenly would see like a pop star, a business pop star, and
Maybe without noticing. In that case, I didn't. I just thought that we needed to. Back then, we had like our hands were full. We didn't have any time left, but we wanted to do other stuff. So I thought this would be an option, and then maybe our success could somehow validate that we would be good business partners, and hopefully would get other entrepreneurs that would work with us, and they would build the projects, or most of it, and we would help, with our expertise. So in that sense, it might be that it, but I still consider myself a more advanced entrepreneur than someone that is just starting.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of things that we
definitely.
have learned.
Yeah.
I do sometimes have this kind of ego thing where I think, I have. It's a bit weird to say, but above average because we're able to do this, because a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
So be like, I put my mind into something and I did it, so I'm better. I don't think like this, but I know that it's not rationally. If I think no, I know it's not true, but sometimes it might get to that.
I mean, I guess you are above average. I'm not sure if you are if you and me are above average in skills, but at least in persistence.
Yeah,
And anyone who has a successful business must be above average in something, because most people fail at businesses.
yeah.
So I guess you have to be above average in something.
Yeah, I think
But
that's something that I started to realize, by the way, which was like
but
how hard it
persistence
is.
definitely
Yeah.
a key thing.
Persistence is a key
Yeah.
thing, and how hard it is to make a business that actually has as profit. Because there's a lot of businesses with tons of revenue, and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
not a lot
yeah,
of profit.
yeah.
But with this amount of profit in like 3 or 4 months already, like each one of us was making like $3,000 or something in profits, and that's great. That's not like a small percentage of the population and the entrepreneurs are able to achieve this. So that was incredible. So we started growing. We did the product on launch. That was crazy. We found emails, like cold emailing.
Yeah, that was clever. That was a
Yeah, and
clever.
and I don't want to focus too much on the strategies here, because we spoke about, and I spoke about that in the other episodes. Let's just like talk about one thing that I think it was really important, which was, as we were going, you were still doing the freelancing,
Yeah.
right? And then around what, July, you decided to no more freelancing. And yeah, tell me about that. That the whole process of
Yeah, so
going 100% in.
so because I had never had a successful business like Pot Squeeze, like entrepreneurship was not really it was kind of my plan A, because I wanted I wanted to have a successful business more than I wanted to be a freelancer. But I still had to pay the bill, so I didn't really let go of freelancing. So even with my previous business, the Donny Dough thing, the cookie shop,
There's an episode, by the way, where
yeah, one of the earliest episodes, I think.
That's true.
Um,
But it was hard for me to get good guests.
yeah. Thanks, Tiago. But yeah, even in the cookie shop, I was baking cookies and doing freelancing at the same time. Like I baked the cookies, and then I would sit on the table. I would some freelance work. So I really never let go freelancing. This was the first time. So I guess I really wanted to make sure that Pod Squeeze was a sustainable business and a reliable business before just leaving freelancing all at once. But then we had this conversation where you really felt that this was being unfair to you, because I had kind of two jobs, even though Pod Squeeze was my main priority and I was working like 14, 15 hours a day. I don't know. I still managed to do like two full times, one full time for freelancing and one full time for Pod Squeeze. To be honest, I'm not sure if I'm working more hours for Pod Squeeze now, even though I don't have the freelancing. But I heard your concern, because you were full on Pod Squeeze.
Yeah, I was full on, but I recognized that you were working more hours in like, not in Pod Squeeze, maybe, I don't know about that, but you were working as the same as me.
Probably.
What I was worrying back then was not only about the work itself, was about, I don't even know, but the skin in the game kind of thing, the all in kind of thing, the thinking long term and not just doing. the tasks, but thinking what next tasks. And back then there was like we had this discussion, and I reflected a lot about it.
Yeah, yeah.
What changed for me was like kind of doing the trust and thinking like, okay, he wants this to succeed as much. This looks like marriage counsel.
Yeah.
To succeed as much as I do. So like let's give him some trust and like, okay, fuck it, he will do it and he will find a way. And then that's when we kind of decided to divide more or less into like the department. So I would be more focused on like building and the development and coding, and João would be more into like the marketing and branding and trying to bring people on board. And saying like, okay, just focus on that, and I trust you that you'll do that. So in the end, I think I was fine with you doing the freelancing, and I told you that, and you said like, yeah, but I think 2 weeks after you said like, no, fuck it, I don't want to do freelancing anymore.
Yeah, because even though, I mean, you told me that it would be okay for me to continue with the freelancing, I knew that probably, I mean, the concern doesn't disappear from one day to the other. So I thought, okay, he's full on Portuguese. I should probably now, okay, Portuguese is making money.
In August was doing 10k, almost like 11k already.
Yeah.
11k MRR.
Yeah. So at that time, it was already paying a salary.
It was paying more than your freelance.
More than my freelance,
Yeah.
absolutely. But in my mind, like, for me, this freelancing, I had like these 5 or 6 clients who I had been working with for the past like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is to me, letting my freelance go was also letting go my safety net.
Yeah.
Because Portuguese was just like 4 months old, and my clients were like 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I had to make a bet in favor of Portuguese. But I thought it was fair to you, and it was a valid concern. So, yeah, I made the
So you
step.
did this for me and less for you. So if it was for you, you'd still continue.
Yeah,
From now, like, would you still like to keep your
no,
freelance?
at this moment, I would already live out freelancing for myself. But at that time, the trigger was, I think, being fair to you. Yeah.
So, how did it feel?
But then, as soon as I
Yeah.
fired my clients, I thought, okay, this was probably, I should have done this earlier,
Why?
because my quality of life improved a lot, and I didn't need that freelance money at that moment, and I just suddenly had like one full time free time, one full free time, and my quality of life improved a lot.
How so? Like, what changed?
I mean, working in freelancing with many clients. First of all, working in freelancing in Portugal, it's not the same as working in freelancing in other countries of Europe, at least.
Yeah.
In Portugal, I don't think people respect your time too much.
No.
They can no, they can send you a message at night if they need something, even if they don't quite need it. It's just that if they want it, they will make it sound like an urgency, and they will be calling you in the weekends. And of course, this is also my fault because I didn't set too much boundaries, and some of these clients had become my friends. But it was always very stressful. Like, I was in the gym and I would receive a call. So, I need this right now. Are you going to be at home like in the next half an hour? Okay, I can try. I was always rushing too much. And
Collecting the money as well.
collecting the money was a pain in the ass
Yeah.
for Portuguese people. When
There was no Stripe for freelancers.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a
there's-
business idea.
Yeah. When a Portuguese person tells you that they are going to pay, they might pay right away, but it can also mean that they are going to pay in a few months, or they will completely forget to pay you. So yeah, my quality of life improved a lot.
I think until September it was like all roses somehow. Like, it was growing like crazy. I don't know. Of course, there was some stress with OpenAI, and we tried to find new providers, and there was a lot of negotiation for the first time. Like, we were doing a lot of negotiating, and it was cool to be seen as a proper company. And we were negotiating with people from the US and the UK.
That was also
That was cool, right?
pretty cool, yeah.
They will be like, oh yeah, we want your business. And we felt like, okay, two dudes. We're just two dudes that started a business 3 months ago or 4 months ago. And now we're negotiating with teams that they work with Joe Rogan, like, I don't know, Rev, they worked with this big company. So we're like, okay, this is really cool. And I think there was a lot of things that we learned, like how to negotiate, how to speak. I think you had always a better approach in negotiating than me. You're more like pragmatic, and you really kind of always asked for a better deal, right?
Yeah.
And for me, maybe we can discuss this, right? Like, when we were trying to figure out what would be the best provider, I was like, okay, just pick the first one. The simple idea, or like, just pick the first one. And then you're like, no, Tiago, let's do this properly. So I think that's a good relationship on, like, I'm fast, but sometimes I'm not thorough. And you'll be like, no, I want to go into the details, right?
Yeah, especially when it's something that you are going to commit long term. Yeah. Of course, if you are going to decide your transcription partner for the next years, I guess you have to take some more time evaluating the different options, negotiating prices. But yeah, to me, like, when I'm going to negotiate, if someone offers a price for any service, I always try to understand what kind of value. I guess that's how any people should negotiate. Like, you have to see what's the value that service is going to provide to you, what's the reasonable value that you should expect to get, and then you make an offer based on that. The same thing was with for example, the conference that we went to Berlin. I remember the guy said like 1,600, and you said, of course, yeah, let's pay that. And I really wanted to negotiate.
I made the math. How much was it in the end?
We paid 800. So half
of the price.
And you were kind of self-conscious about it. Like, I remember you. Okay, you can propose that, but don't say it was me. I don't want to have anything with that.
Fuck, yeah, it's true.
But in the end, he accepted, because he clearly. I mean, when I was talking with him, I felt that he clearly didn't know how much value he could provide to us. Yeah. So he didn't really know how much was his service worth, right? So of course, when you meet someone like that, you can always say, okay, that might be a fair price, but in our experience with the conference that we went, we know that probably we are not going to see some enough return on investment, so we are willing to pay this price. Are you going to accept it or not? I guess.
How is it working with me?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are similar in many aspects, and we are very complementary in others, so that's a plus. What can we improve?
Okay, let's go to the more frustrating moments of the year.
Yeah, okay.
Up until then, I guess the most frustrating moment was the freelancing thing for me.
Yeah. You had to meditate.
I had to meditate.
Like, again, I learned that it was a very frustrating moment for you in your podcast because you recorded the podcast.
The podcast helped.
Yeah, you recorded the podcast where you just you were completely honest, and you said that you had to meditate about it, and it was it was something that you had to put a lot of thought in it. So we had a conversation about it, but I did not get the impression that this was just this importance for you. I just learned that in your podcast. So your podcast sometimes is useful for those kinds of things.
September started, and for the first time we decided to create a power company, right? So we had this kind of hybrid mode until then, and it was fucking nightmare. Like, for me personally, maybe because we are in Portugal, or most likely because we are in Portugal, it was really frustrating. Like, taxes are very high, and I don't want to go too much into detail. There was a lot of negotiations, a lot of if there's something that I've learned, not only with this negotiation but as well with the other negotiations we did with our partners, is that when sometimes it starts poorly, when like there's someone that you are negotiating is okay, something is odd. Quite often, that first intuition for me has been proven right.
What you mean negotiating with who?
Like for instance, with our the other, I don't remember
The deep.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. That company. Yeah.
the other company. So I don't know. It felt weird from the start, but then we pushed it, and then it was kind of a waste of time.
So we are talking about one of the transcription services
Yeah.
we were negotiating
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
And also maybe a little bit we made some poor, not so good decisions with the taxes and our team there, but in general it was really frustrating, and there was a lot of time that we wasted just figuring this shit out, right? I remember like you also being super frustrated at the moment, like fuck, I'm tired of this. Like because everyone around us was telling us, this is super easy. Just go to
Yeah.
Estonia, just go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Let's go. It's super easy. Like, and everyone around us was saying like I was feeling so dumb because it didn't feel easy for us, right?
Yeah, for every tip that people offer, there's like two problems
Yeah.
with the rise. Yeah. So and everyone in the internet would make it so easy. Even people with experience, like people with companies for years, or even attorneys. Like you would talk with an attorney or an accountant, and you would end the meeting with more questions than solutions. So that was a very frustrating moment. It felt like everyone kind of felt they knew how the system worked, but no one really was sure about it. Like everyone was doing their own way that could kind of work, but also had some risks involved. So yeah, it was a very frustrating moment. We could not find the right answers anywhere. They were just like half-assed answers.
And also because sometimes there's no answers for that. Like the law is not as rigorous as I thought. It's not as strict as I thought. There's like a huge gray area, and in the end, and this at least in Portugal, it all depends to the auditor. And like lawyers told us this literally, like there are certain things that no one knows if it's legal or not legal. It depends on the person that if you get audited, they will analyze it, and that's super frustrating for me. So we wasted a lot of time, and it feels that like for like 2 months we're working on that. Then we went to Berlin for our conference, and then kind of we woke up to the realization that PodSqueeze was not growing anymore, right? It was growing really slowly. So just for you to understand,
Okay, that was a very frustrating moment for me.
okay, that's interesting. So just to say here, in September we were making 12K. And then in October we were making 12K, or a little bit more, but like 400 euros more. And in November we are actually making less. This is MRR, right? This is not because we make more money than this because we have the annual payments, but this is MRR. So in Berlin, we are going to the conference for the first time where we have to sell PodSqueeze, right? And João, every time we're going there, you were like telling me, dude, PodSqueeze is dying. PodSqueeze is dying. Like,
but it didn't. It started in September. I remember you were on vacation and in Greece. End of September, and I was collecting data from Stripe. I was analyzing all data in terms of like conversions, how our growth was developing in these months, in terms of like how much of it was from upgrades or new clients, how much was the churn. Like I evaluated a bunch of numbers, and I put together a presentation because I was trying to get this idea in you. Yeah, this is not the business is not growing. You should not be celebrating too much. This is kind of stagnating. We are going down, and you have this naive positivity, which is pretty good sometimes, because it is this naive positivity that makes you keep trying, and this is what sparks your persistence, I guess.
I guess.
But sometimes you just ignore a little bit the numbers, I guess, and you could be more analytical sometimes, even though you are an analytical person. I think you are a very rational person. But anyway, I noticed that like starting in June, July, or August or something like that, that our growth was not being sustained by new clients. So we were growing, but it seemed like our growth came from upgrades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I started to notice our MRR also our growth was declining each month. So we were still growing, but we were still growing at
Less, yeah.
less and less, and we were almost eating. So if you would draw a line in our growth, you could anticipate that your growth would be zero in September, which was exactly what happened. So I was trying to get your attention to this problem, and you were now, João, of course not. We are going to be saved by SEO, or we haven't still tried many things. But I've also in my presentation I've also included some graphs that show that more visits on the website did not really correspond to growth in MRR. So these were all very this data was very concerning to me. So yeah, that was when I got my peak frustration in October when we
Okay.
were in.
The whole so far, your peak frustration so far was
My
in
peak
this.
frustration was in Berlin because I was, yeah, we really need to look at these numbers. This is not going well. We need to pivot somehow, to get another strategy, to invest in another, because what we have been doing so far is not working. And like I wanted to be faithful to our initial strategy of trying out things, and what doesn't work, we should just pivot. And to me that was the moment to pivot. Like, okay, this is the moment where things are not working out, our growth is stalling, we need to pivot right now. So I was trying to convince you about that, and it was like talking to a wall. It didn't really. I remember you telling me in Berlin, João, you are killing the vibe, you really need to shut up about that shit.
I mean, in my defense, we were going literally to the conference where we were supposed to sell Pod Squeeze.
Yeah.
And it's not a good vibe to go and say like, dude, we are going to die.
Yeah.
And I remember in that somehow helped, maybe, I don't know, for the last day of the conference where, because the first days didn't go well. First day and a half didn't go very good. The last day, and then it's debatable if in general was good or not, but the last day was better. And I was just like giving flyers to everyone. They were just passing me like, take a flyer, fuck it, take a flyer. Yeah, and back then I didn't see, because I thought that there was still SEO. So for me, the reason why it was going down was because there was this wave of AI that we kind of surfed, and now was fading out, and because of that we're getting less traffic and less conversions. And then SEO would kind of resuscitate once we would find out, and you were working in SEO. So I said like, okay, I guess then we agreed that I was maybe concerned, but I didn't want to focus on that right now. And we postponed it. We came back from Berlin, and SEO started working, which was positive, right? And that was cool because we by the way, we hired our first kind of freelancers. We hired a team to help us with the content. We hired our first developer as well, as a freelancing basis, but that has been amazing. And still, even though these things are growing, even though our number of account creations was growing, and that was in November, like we were able to get more, analyze data and improve on a lot of metrics. Things seem to not to be growing. Like we are not, our churn is high, and we are not converting a lot. And then hit me like a month ago, and now I'm worried, and you are not worried.
Yeah, at that time I had already, like, my frustration had already passed. I was at peace with the fact that Podsquiz was stalling. So I had already made my grief. I had already grieved. Yeah, I was at peace with the fact that Podsquiz was probably staying at this level, and I was still grateful for it because it's paying a very comfortable salary for me. And but it was a moment where I I came to the conclusion that the million was not coming from Pot Squeeze, probably. But
So this is where we are now, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So this was the whole year, our year, 2023, of like starting amazing and feeling like being in top of the world and validating our life as an entrepreneur, our profession, and now reaching to a level of, okay, we don't know what to do next. We have a proper company, we have a proper project, we have more than 400 customers. We've been in conferences, and at the same time, we have no idea how to take this from 150k ARR to 500k ARR or 1 million ARR, which is, of course, I guess, a dream. Like that would be the next dream. If we would get a project that would be able to sell for 20 million or something. And this is where we are right now. Like I think that we can still somehow salvage it and focus on marketing and guerrilla marketing, which is my last thing. And João doesn't think it's going to happen.
I think we have two options right now. We either sell Pot Squeeze, or we just keep Pot Squeeze as a steady stream of income, even if it drops a little bit. Because right now I think Pot Squeeze is, of course, it can always be killed by competition, but it's quite well established right now. I think we probably are in the top 5, top 3, top 2 maybe tools of this kind for podcasters. We appear on the first places
in terms of quality.
I think we are at the top. Absolutely,
top,
we get a lot of feedback that people who have tried other tools and are really happy with Pot Squeeze. We have also introduced some videos now, so I think we are a little bit ahead of the curve in comparison to our competitors. Probably, we are just two guys working, so we are quite agile. And it's quite well established. I think Pot Squeeze, we are appearing in the first positions of Google for key keywords. So I guess Pot Squeeze, we can just hold Pot Squeeze as an asset that just brings some steady revenue, and we can just move to another product, which would also or
we can bet on Pot Squeeze so that it's the fucking tool for every podcaster and make millions.
Yeah.
Now you just you decide.
That's your positive naivety. Yeah, I don't think so. We have been so steady for the last months, and we have been trying so many things, and it's not moving that much. So I think it's time for us to just make a decision. Or we either keep it and move to another project, or we sell it. It would be fun. I think it would be fun for me to try another project, because I'm very curious about whether we can replicate this or not. That would be the ultimate validation, because Pot Squeeze could be
it not to get to 1 million? I think validation
to get 1 million. I guess if you have 5 Pot Squeezes, you get 1 million. But I'm very curious if Pot Squeeze was like more luck or more skill. And if we really are experienced entrepreneurs, as we think we are, we should be able to at least replicate Pot Squeeze in 2 or 3 attempts. I'm not saying that we are going to make it first time. There's a lot of luck involved, of course. But to me, that would be the ultimate validation. So I would probably move to the next project, I guess. But I'm also quite happy as we are right now. It's paying a salary. My quality of life is amazing. So,
yeah. So I think we are finishing this year not similarly, but with a lot of questions like we finished last year, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to learn still. I don't know if I have the energy to have another year like this one, building something from scratch. But now we also have a developer.
Yeah, we have a developer. We have a content writing guy, Adebayo, which is doing an amazing work.
I mean, you just started, but so
so far I'm quite happy.
Okay. João, hell of a year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's an honor
Found
to
it.
be on the
It's an honor to be on the
greatest
User
podcast.
Quest. User Quest.
User Quest company.
Which is our holding company. Yeah, and that's it. That's the end of the last episode of 2023. Thank you so much for listening and for being there. And make sure to share this with all of your indie hacker friends. And thank you, João, for being part of this episode as well.
A pleasure, Tiago. A pleasure to be on the episode and a pleasure to be your co-founder.
Wow. Likewise.
Beautiful.
This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time.